Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 2 of Why It's Worth a Rewatch and Rotten Tomatoes Sucks. My name is Neelish Balaji, and today's movie is a bit of a curveball in the sense that I'm going to talk about a movie that's not worth a rewatch and why Rotten Tomatoes still sucks because it still rewards this movie. So today's movie is Barbie, and if you don't want to hear me blah about Barbie, go to the timestamp where I talk about why Rotten Tomatoes sucks. Now let's get to Barbie.
I just both ice cream. Cool.
Hi, Barbie.
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 Hi, Ken.
All right, so have we gone too far? Listen, I get it. Being an Indian immigrant in the United States, I come from a patriarchal household. The margin of error for women are much smaller than it is for men. And men can spin arrogance and rudeness into confidence that women can't. So I'm not an idiot. Well, I'm not a complete idiot. Most of sexual harassment cases in this country are caused by men. Most of domestic violence cases in this country are caused by men. The wage gap is kind of lowering, but at the same time, it's been bad for years, since the Equal Rights Act of 1963. Correct me if I'm wrong. But enough of the preaching on screen. Now let's get to Barbie. Barbie is a fantasy comedy film that was released on the same day as Oppenheimer and somehow collected $1.5 billion. Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling play Barbie dolls who get magically transported to American society and realize that patriarchy still dominates the world. Greta Gerwig clearly doesn't understand that we live part of a capitalistic society, and she thinks that socioeconomic success is patriarchy or misogyny or whatever the hell that she thinks it is. And in the climax, it's clearly outlined that as long as we're all unapologetically ourselves, the world will be a much better place. Where the fuck is the trash can? How the fuck did this movie make any money? Greta Gerwig would probably much prefer a Midsommar type utopia over the American society that we have now. And maybe she is right. Maybe every man in power or success is either Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Jeffrey Epstein, Diddy. All right, I'm going to stop going with this because it hurts my argument. I'm going to keep shitting on this movie some more.
Interesting. Someone's going to take a shit in there.
Another thing that triggered me about this movie is the depiction of toxic masculinity. Apparently watching and talking about The Godfather is toxic. Apparently playing the guitar to attract the opposite sex is toxic. What's next? If I open the car door for my wife, that's toxic? Should the line between chivalry and chauvinism be that delicate? First of all, I'll talk about Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece until my dying breath. Even a male peacock has to flutter its feathers to attract its counterpart and perform a dance. If I want to help a girl with her golf swing to get laid, consensually of course, I will. If I want to play the guitar to get laid, consensually of course, I will. Oh wait, I've been married for a long time and none of this actually matters. But Greta Gerwig clearly explains that men should be walking around eggshells and present themselves in a sophisticated manner, or else they're vile.
Feeling myself walking on eggshells.
Alright, so Will Ferrell plays a bumbling idiot and America Ferrara plays an empathetic mom. She gives this beautiful monologue as to why it's impossible to be a woman. I'm a huge America Ferrara fan, but give me a fucking break. Now let me deliver the monologue. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior. All right, really? Which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men? Are you fucking kidding me? But not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood. Come on, man.
They got a police presence? Are you kidding me? Wait, come on, man.
Numerous social media reports that LAPD was called.
LAPD was called.
First of all thick girls are in. As long as the respective person is content with their physique and isn't suffering from early onset heart disease, you're good to go. Everybody at some point has to ask for money. It is just how the world works. We do live in a capitalistic society again. And it's easier for an employer to keep an employee on for cheap, regardless of paying them what they're actually worth. First of all, and then I sound like Charles Barkley now. Nobody can be that mean in a professional environment anymore because there's strong HR policies preventing that, and it's never been easier to sue than in 2026. I can keep going with this. And if a man is asking you to defend his deficiencies, I think that's your problem for sticking with that person.
Like Stockholm Syndrome.
I can't believe that grown women are calling this the monologue of the century. It's just sheer victim complex. The moral of the story is this society is filled with negativity. And if other people's perception is your worst issue, that's a very good issue to have. And it's your responsibility, regardless of your private parts, what you take in and what you take out of your own system. So make the appropriate decision and look the other way when you do face this sort of unnecessary animosity. And then there are people who made their careers out of criticizing other people, aka Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith about LeBron James.
He sucks.
I understand life is very hard and it's not very fair. But scrutinizing everything can be extremely dangerous and demoralizing to others who have zero intentions of causing harm. I don't need to reiterate the hardships that African Americans have faced in this country. And I'm not here to compare the hardships of any sex. But we have realized from history that justice is very slow and it takes drastic political and socioeconomic efforts for it to happen. Putting out a binary movie and calling it justice is not appropriate, and saying it's an ode to feminism is completely asinine. And I haven't even gotten to the psychological or scientific aspects as to why this movie is extremely illogical. All right, I think I've ranted enough.
Ew, gross, stupid, rant.
Unfortunately, I watched Blink Twice as well, which is another rough all men are evil movie. If woke culture keeps censoring all the good content and keeps putting out more Barbies, I'll have to settle for watching Mike White's White Lotus, where he takes a balanced approach as to the depiction of human nature. The only thing that triggers me more than Barbie is Adam DeMarco's character in White Lotus Season 2, where, again, he is this woke man who takes it out on the Godfather, but ends up extorting the great Michael Imperioli for a couple bucks after sexual intercourse completely blinds him from Lucia. Now let's get to Rotten Tomatoes.
You are one rotten tomato.
So Rotten Tomatoes sucks. This movie got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 83% from audience members. I'll just tackle all the good criticisms from the good criticisms from top critics. Christina Newland from inews.co.uk. 5 out of 5. Greta Gerwig's film blazes its way into a strange and bold future where adapting a film from a corporate toy franchise doesn't immediately feel ugly and anti-art. First of all, I really hope this isn't the future, or this isn't the future of art. I guess I have nothing more to say about that. Juan Barquin from Autostraddle. So beneath all the laughs at the expense of men and women is the sad truth that this brand of essentialism itself, of separating Barbies from Kens, of emphasizing their differences, is the thing that damages us the most. I don't think there's an issue with emphasizing the differences. We are different. Men and women are different. And I'm not going through the millions of genders out there that liberals have created, but our endocrine systems are different hormonally. Our neuromuscular systems are different. We have different pros and cons. Men are better risk takers. Women are better rule followers than men are. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just the fact that we're different. And I think that's completely okay, by the way. So there's no need to... So none of this is damaging. Next review is by Sergio Burstein. The next review is by Sergio Burstein, LA Times. One of the best films of the year in cinematographic terms. Probably the best comedy that we've seen in a long time, and an extraordinarily entertaining product that promotes the value of searching for a more cohesive society. The best comedy, I guess, in a long time. Comedies have been sucking. But I'll talk about one toxic thing about modern comedies is that we're actually not laughing at things or funny scenarios anymore. We're laughing every comedy movies now is satire or trying to say a message. You're not going to see any more, I don't know, Wedding Crashers, which I guess where you're laughing at some of the awesome comedic timings by the two main leads, or Will Ferrell's cameo, or White Chicks, or The Hangover, where you're presented with a bunch of douchebags who are immoral. So you, as an audience member, are just laughing at the specific scenario that these people put themselves in. But now we're laughing at, like, for the potential of patriarchy or whatever Greta Gerwig thinks that is a real life or whatever Greta Gerwig thinks is meant to be a cohesive society in the future. Caroline's Side from Girl Culture Substack. So Barbie isn't as streamlined as my favorite girl comedies, but it's more thematically ambitious than many of them too. I'll take flawed ambition over plastic perfection any day of the week. Taking an ambitious approach to filmmaking is absolutely fine. Most of the audience members who do appreciate cinema will look the other way when it comes to flaws, as long as the intention of the director or the writer is appropriate. But I have an issue with the ambition of this project. Next one is Leonard Maltin. When I became a father, I searched for movies that would show my daughter positive role models, and it was tough going. Barbie makes up for lost time and should warm the hearts of parents and daughters alike. It is very good that growing women or growing adolescent girls are getting confidence from watching this movie, but what about the perception they get of what Greta Gerwig presents as American society? I think that's also inappropriate because it's not very accurate. So now, what if some of these girls who are just developing ethics and thoughts about certain concepts, what if they kind of over scrutinize a certain scenario when that's not even what the opposite sex meant? And now they have an improper perception of the scenario. Next one is Sherry Flanders. Greta Gerwig serves up. The next one is Sherry Flanders from Chicago Reader. Greta Gerwig serves up a frothy confection of fashion and fun, coupled with searing social critique of the iconic doll in the movie Barbie. Please, Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie would look good in anything. The fashion actually doesn't matter. In fact, they look good wearing nothing sometimes. The next one is Dwight Brown from DwightBrownInc.com. 3 out of 4. Gerwig's glee as a director is evident. It's a lot to take in, and some skits work better than the others. But if you consider this movie to be a package deal, the package is wrapped nice and tight, but not perfectly. Why are so many of these critics talking about why this movie isn't perfect? There's no movie that's perfect. I would rather be of the Clint Eastwood school than the Stanley Kubrick school or David Fincher school. But I don't know why so many of these reviews. I guess they had to say something nasty about the movie to make their criticism worth of some value. Victoria Luxford from BBC.com. It's funny, it's bright and uplifting, and I think it has a lot to say about the modern world, both in terms of feminism and gender equality. Ryan Gosling really goes all out. Does this really have something to say about modern world? What does Greta Gerwig know? She grew up in the mean streets of Sacramento. It's not like she grew up in Compton. Let's relax on that. The next review is by Camilla Long. It's in trying to be comically ahead of the sexism curve, it ends up feeling sexist itself. Ooh, I like the way this review sounds. Let me get to the point. I must say, I found the politics of this film utterly incoherent. It's a 12A, but I wouldn't let my 6-year-old daughter near it. It's filled with adult concepts, jokes, and themes. The idea that men are stupid, go to the gym, run everything, and don't care about women. while women are sensible, striving, but ultimately conflicted victims. In trying to be comically ahead of the sexism curve, it ends up feeling sexist itself. Let's fucking go, Camilla Long. Or Camilla Long? Well, she's from UK Times. That is the best. I couldn't have said that better myself. She nailed it. She freaking nailed it. Kaila Kumari Upadhyaya from Autostraddle. Barbie does something more than just highlight the ridiculous limiting nature of external internalized misogyny. Damn, she used the M word. That's just straight clickbait. Next. Most of this talks about the most of these reviews talk about the plasticky construction of the movie, which I think it should the camera work should definitely be applauded, no doubt. But I guess nobody really talks about Michael Cera either. Next one is Grace Sagers from The New Republic. Barbie is surprisingly spiritual, treating the messiness and contradictions of womanhood with reverence. What contradictions? What are we talking about? What's messiness? What's so messy about this life? I don't understand. Spiritual? I don't know. This isn't a fucking religion. What the fuck? The next one is Ty Burr from Ty Burr's Watch List. 3.5 out of 4. What gives me hope was a response of the preview screening audience with whom I saw Barbie. Mostly women, mostly young, who laughed with a sense of release that had a giddy, liberating edge to it. Yeah, I did notice that. I was in the movie theater with my sister, and we both were looking at each other as if, like, why are these considered massive struggles? I mean, we both come from humble beginnings, and we are both Indian immigrants, and not having a lot of money in this country isn't great compared to pretty much every fucking trouble that's mentioned in this country. And we came here a year before 9/11, so we've seen some shit in this country that these women have never seen in their lives. But I did notice that my sister was falling asleep during the movie, and she did get yelled at by a lady that was next to her who was absolutely riveted by the performances on screen. So I'll move on from that. Next one, what do we got here? Next one is Nicholas Barber from BBC.com. 5 out of 5. Gerwig and Baumbach waste no time in racing through the scenes you might anticipate. Their exuberantly eccentric fairy tale that has some of the dark, angst-ridden surrealism of Charlie Kaufman and the meticulous eeriness of Stanley Kubrick. What the fuck was this dude watching? I don't remember any eeriness in this movie. I'll leave that one alone. That person's clearly on crystal meth.
Tight, yeah!
Next one is Ann Monow from New Statesman. For all that Maddow will profit from Gerwig's name, there's little here of her private reserve of outstanding sensitivity, messiness, and appreciation for the beauty of the real world. In their place are merely hollow overtures to feminism. Thank you so much, Anne. I love that the two bad reviews are both by women who are just like, this movie is completely exaggerated and just out of control, and just really trying to bash you on the head with a fucking baseball bat. I love that. I love this shit. Most of the other reviews are either talking about the stellar performances or the stellar visuals. I mean, the performances were good, no doubt, for whatever criteria that the production team has set. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. My name is Neelish Balaji again, and please check me out at yippee.com. Thank you. Bye.